A couple hurriedly approached the flight attendant at the counter. "Hello, we'd like 2 tickets to Nice," they said. "Nice?" the ticket agent said. "Nice?" he said again. "Do you mean Nice?" "Oh, yes. We meant Nice, to Nice." "Okay then, to Nice." "Yes," they said, "to Nice." Okay, with that, they just made their flight. Boarding the plane, they were exhausted and fell right to sleep. And when they woke up just in time for the landing, they noted that all the announcements were being made first in French and then in Arabic. As the couple looked out the window, they were surprised not to see more greenery. As they were getting ready to deplane, the announcement finally came on in English. "Welcome to Tunis." "Tunis," the couple looked at each other with a puzzled expression. "Tunis," they exclaimed in horror as they realized they had not landed in Nice, not even in Nice, France, but in Tunis, Tunisia. A real story, a simple misunderstanding. Nice, Nice, Tunis, just a small difference in pronunciation, but destinations a world apart. This week in Ha'azinu, Moses is nearing the end of his journey. While his destination all these years was the Promised Land, he has come to understand that he won't arrive there as he expected. Instead, he uses his precious time to share the wisdom he has acquired in his leadership role, teaching, admonishing, cajoling, schlepping, and encouraging an often stubborn and challenging community. Like a parent sending off a child to the next chapter of life, when they will have to navigate the world on their own, Moses summed up 40 years of wisdom into pithy nuggets. He wants to make sure that when they arrive, they will remember all that he's taught them and live by God's words. And it's only natural for him to wonder, too, how will he be remembered? And will it include the word nice? For us, we who have just traveled from Rosh Hashanah to Yom Kippur, a road leading through 10 days of awe, a practice which is deeply entwined with repentance, acknowledgement of our own shortcomings can leave us somewhat chastened, and in fact, more nice. In a world that often celebrates strength, ambition, and assertiveness, kindness can sometimes feel like a quiet virtue that is either overlooked or undervalued. Gentleness can be mistaken for weakness or lack of ambition. Yet as our reflections just yesterday remind us, niceness is not weakness. It is a courageous, conscious choice. Nice takes real effort. As we take our first steps into this new year, let us be mindful that choosing nice as a destination is a conscious, powerful act. By recentering niceness as a core value, we reclaim the importance of human connection. Our tradition teaches us that being nice is not just a matter of manners. It's a quality that, when practiced with intention, can change us at our core, and in turn, those around us. I sometimes wonder, when did choosing nice go out of fashion? In fact, isn't be nice among the earliest things that we learn from our parents? At every age, no matter where our travels have taken us, that lesson was at the center of our interactions. In the workplace, though we may call it by other names, like respect or teamwork, it is the basis of cooperation, which builds the community in which we want to live. Yet so often, it seems that being nice has been compromised by truth-telling, seemingly in the service of honesty. Does this robe make me look, well, large? You really don't need to answer that. But instead, we know that sometimes full-on truth-telling while claiming I'm just being honest is really intended to be hurtful and can cause great pain. Our tradition teaches us a timeless lesson in truth-telling when it asserts that every bride is beautiful, a statement that is entirely true because it does not judge appearance, but comments on an inner state of beauty that we call chen. We might say that chen means that one is beautiful inside and out, and because a bride's inner radiance is apparent to all, that is what makes the statement true. The emphasis is on niceness. In this season, nice means retracing your steps to only yesterday, to Yom Kippur, and reflecting on the consequences of how we acted before we respond. Jewish wisdom tells us that true repentance, teshuvah, begins when we approach others with gentleness, patience, and respect, and we create a plan from which forgiveness and transformation can emerge. A plan that must be sturdy enough to carry us from this Yom Kippur to the following Rosh Hashanah. In our parasha, Moses urges the Israelites, remember the days of old, consider the years of ages past, ask your elders, and they will tell you. One well-known example of those stories is from the reunion of Joseph and his brothers, a model of how forgiveness can lead to transformation. I'm sure you remember that as a boy, Joseph was a tattletale and his father's favorite, and that he was so insufferable that his brothers could not stand him. His siblings sold him to traders who were passing by, and after many years, Joseph ultimately rose to a position of power in Egypt. During a famine in Canaan, when his brothers came before him to get food, Joseph, now in a position of authority, had the power to act in any way he chose. He could have chosen to seek revenge and punish them, but instead, he chose forgiveness and reconciliation. To put it simply, Joseph was nice with a capital N. He famously declared, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." In doing so, Joseph demonstrated that he had become a man of character. And in letting go of bitterness, Joseph freed himself from an emotional prison of resentment toward his brothers based on their sibling rivalry from childhood. When a person could be vengeful, yet chooses to be kind, that changes how we view them. Joseph's pivotal decision, driven by the character he developed in response to his life's challenges, had a far-reaching impact on his siblings, on our people, and on how we see the courage of his response. His true character still affects us, his descendants. We still learn from the model he presents, which reinforces the message that every person can choose a better path at any time. By choosing nice, by acting like a mensch, we honor the process of Yom Kippur, centering our lives around the revelation of our more noble character. True growth lies in how we act and how we respond, not during the 10 days of awe alone, but every day since. As committed as we may be to being nice, sometimes it's a long journey to get there. So what happens when wanting to be nice is not enough? And that is when the idea of mitzvah comes in. The word mitzvah is often translated as a good deed, but it's actually a commandment. Mitzvot are things we are obligated to do by the weight of our tradition. Every morning, the prayer book offers us a checklist, reminders of how we can contribute to a nicer society. And in our prayer book, it's so important that it precedes the Torah service. It begins Elu hadvarim. These are the duties whose value simply cannot be measured. And I like to think as we read through them, we also go through a mental checklist, honoring one's parents, acts of love and kindness, hospitality to strangers, visiting the sick, celebrating with bride and groom, consoling the bereaved, praying with sincerity, and studying Torah. And we're also commanded to dan l'chaf zechut, to give others the benefit of the doubt. Isn't that what we asked of God only yesterday? To give us the benefit of the doubt, asserting that our good deeds outweigh the bad ones, and to judge us favorably. So shouldn't we do the same for others when they need compassion or kindness rather than criticize? Couldn't we choose nice? And you know this from your own experience, that a kind word can make all the difference. A kind word from a teacher, a coach, a dear one, can lift a student or player's heart and even change the course of their day. A pat on the back from a colleague feels like a recognition of our efforts and our value to an organization. And a friend's support can make life feel worth living. The list of commandments moving us to nice abound in Jewish tradition. And just one more that I want to be sure to share. Yesterday, as part of the Holiness Code, we read Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha, love your neighbor as yourself. Rabbi Hillel offers this insight regarding the lamed in l'reacha, meaning for. It's significant because when we want for our neighbors precisely what we want for ourselves, then we've truly come to understand the lesson that our neighbors are like us, equally vulnerable and equally deserving of kindness. That is a lesson to aspire to in this season and beyond. Only yesterday, we implored God to inscribe us and seal us in the book of life for blessing, when in truth we write our own name in it by our deeds. The Torah gives us a choice. I set before you life and death, blessing and curse. And then it even tells us the right answer. Uvacharta b'chayim, choose life. So how do we fulfill this commandment to choose life? Tradition says by increasing well-being. As we engage with others, we have the opportunity to choose whether to bring happiness and contentment into our world or not. Even when we don't feel like it, the expectation is still there. So it turns out that nice is a destination after all, and it's much closer than we ever imagined. When we arrive there, when we arrive at nice, the year will be that much sweeter. Happy travels. Shabbat Shalom.